Tonight, one of the most exciting first-round playoff series in the NBA begins between the Raptors and the 76ers, and despite the fact that the Sixers are favored, there are many people backing the Raptors to pull off the upset. So in today's video, we're going to break down everything that you need to know about this series ahead of Game 1. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here, back with Amateur Hour Sports for another Toronto Raptors YouTube video. If you want the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news, then you need to be subscribed to Amateur Hour Sports. And again, this video is powered by Betstamp. The Betstamp app shops all of the best sports lines, so you don't have to. If you're thinking about placing a sports wager, you can use the Betstamp app completely for free, and it will let you know where the best place is to use that wager to maximize your profits. Use the link in the description to either download the app, or you can also sign up online, but use code RAPS on referral to let them know that I sent you there. RAPS. But our video today, we are breaking down this first round series, what promises to be an extremely exciting series between the Raptors and the 76ers. Obviously, me as a Raptors fan, I am just extremely happy to be in the playoffs at all, but I really give us an opportunity to go ahead and win this series. So what we want to do over the course of this video, we're going to talk about what each team is going to look like on the court in terms of their rotation, what sort of game plan they are going to deploy, and then we're going to talk about what part of this series is going to cause the difference between these two teams. What can the Raptors do to win this series, and how can the Raptors be successful over the course of this series? So for starters, let's talk about the Raptors, what they're going to look like in the playoffs. I think the starting lineup completely speaks for itself. The Raptors are 100% going to go with that small ball starting lineup of Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, and Pascal Siakam. It's a very positionless system, but defending Joel Embiid from the start of the game might be a little bit difficult with this lineup out, so I expect the bench to play a bit of a role here. Precious Achiuwa, I imagine, is going to get a ton of play time in this series defending Joel Embiid, but I expect Scotty Barnes to get a lot of reps against him as well. And talking about the bench, Precious Achiuwa is an important player, as is Chris Boucher, and I also think Thaddeus Young is going to play a key role off the bench. I don't think the Raptors are going to go beyond an 8-man rotation unless they give like 3 to 5 minutes to maybe Armoni Brooks, to maybe Malachi Flynn. I expect the Raptors to maintain an 8-man rotation here, but I think that they really are going to need Achiuwa and Boucher to step up in the role off the bench. I think that as the series may go on, we may take Thaddeus Young a little bit out of the rotation, maybe, keep him in there for some minutes, but not as many minutes. I think the key pieces off the bench are when Achiuwa and Boucher come in together maybe halfway through the first quarter. And like I was mentioning, Achiuwa is going to have to be vital on defense against Joel Embiid over the course of this series. He's done well against him in the regular season defending him. So can he bring that to the playoffs? I just think he might be able to. The Raptors, they live by this all-forward type of lineups. They live by this guard plus 4 forwards type of lineup. It's worked for them this season. It offers them a lot of rotation on defense. It offers them the ability to move quickly in transition, and it really offers them the ability to crash that offensive glass, which has been key for the Raptors this season. How the Sixers are probably going to look in this series, the starting lineup, again, this is a pretty simple one. They're going to go with Tyrese Maxey and James Harden in the guard positions. Thibault for the games in Philly will start at the 3 spot. Tobias Harris will be at the 4, and of course, Joel Embiid will be at the 5. I think that their bench is going to look like Georges Niang coming off the bench along with Shake Milton, Danny Green, and it's very difficult to really find a 9th man here. I'm really starting to wonder if the Sixers are going to use DeAndre Jordan at all in this series as the backup center. I'd like to make a message to Doc Rivers here. DeAndre Jordan is still very good, and I think that he should get a lot of the minutes when Joel Embiid isn't on the floor. If DeAndre Jordan gets minutes in this series, I think the Raptors are just going to completely abuse him, so I really do hope the Sixers end up going with him. I think it's highly possible as well that we see Millsap coming off the bench as more of that 9th man to be that small ball center to counteract all the forwards that the Raptors have. But in the games in Toronto, games 3, 4, and potentially 6, with no Matisse Thybulle available, I feel like Danny Green is going to slot into that starting 5 in the 3 spot. And then you might see maybe Korkmaz or more of Millsap coming off the bench. But I think they are going to generally, in games where everybody's available, stick with more of an 8-man rotation as well. The starting lineup, like I mentioned, along with Green, Milton, and Niang coming off the bench. I think that makes the most amount of sense for the 76ers. But I don't put it past them. I honestly don't put it past them to give DeAndre Jordan some minutes in this series, though I think that would be a mistake for them. So what is going to be the difference in this series? I think that the Raptors are looking at this one like if they can win the possession battle in 4 of these games, they can win all 4 of those games. The Raptors have really made it their identity this season to crash the glass, force turnovers, get those extra possessions. Despite being not a great shooting team, like in terms of their field goal percentage, they are not great in that category. But the amount of extra possession they can generate compared to their opponents in the game is what allows them to win. So they can shoot 43% from the field, 30% from 3, but they could take 15 more shots than their opponents. And that just gives them the edge. It gives them the extra little bit of points, the extra little bit of offense to generate the wins. And the Sixers are going to be fully aware of this. And, they know they have to box out. They know they have to be tough on the defensive glass. And it's one thing just knowing that, it's another thing doing it, because the Raptors have done it all season and teams haven't really been able to stop it. And what's really key for the Raptors, it's not just having great rebounders. They have some good rebounders. It's the amount of bodies they commit on the glass to get those rebounds. They really live by those offensive rebounds. They send like 4 players to go and do that. And you would expect the Raptors to actually have a very poor transition defense, but it actually is one of the best in the NBA. So even with crashing the offensive glass, they don't give up a lot of points in transition. And that just because of this positionless system that we play, the philosophy from Masai Ujiri, having all of these athletic guys, is that we can commit a lot of guys to the offensive glass, but they're athletic enough that if they don't get that rebound, they can hustle back big time and prevent those transition opportunities. The Raptors, again, just live by this. That's what makes it so difficult to play against them. The 76ers in this series, they're going to have to do their best to limit the extra possessions that the Raptors are going to generate. So ball retention is going to be key. Boxing out on defense is going to be key. But ultimately, they have the best 2 players in this series. If the Raptors can't limit what Joel Embiid does in this series, it's going to be curtains for the Raptors, 100%. So can they make life difficult for Joel Embiid? 100%. They've done it in the past. They've done it this season, and they can continue to do it in the playoffs. James Harden, make his life difficult. Find the right guys to switch on to him. Find the right guys to match up with him in isolation when he gets those isolation opportunities. I did a full video a couple of days ago talking about how to stop Joel Embiid and James Harden, so I don't really want to go into a lot of dialogue on this one. But overall, the Raptors are going to like their opportunity in this series by generating those extra possessions. And they've had success in the past defending Joel Embiid, though, maybe I've never seen this version of Joel Embiid, but over the course of a possible 7-game series, if you consistently and continually wear down the center, it's going to be very difficult for him to execute game after game after game, knowing the difficulty that the Raptors defense is going to give him, like especially with guys like Scotty Barnes, especially with guys like Precious Achiuwa, constantly battling against him. And another key for the Raptors to win this series is going to be, Joel Embiid, obviously a superstar, going to be difficult to play against him. Can you really win those minutes when Joel Embiid is on the floor? Because that's the time of the game where you have to take advantage. When Embiid isn't on the floor and they've got James Harden out there, the only star on the floor, you have to dominate. You have to win those situations in the game because there's not going to be a lot of time where Joel Embiid isn't on the court. So you have to make sure you're taking advantage of those moments to get those extra little bit of points, maybe to get yourself back in the game, maybe to pull away a little bit with a lead. That is how the Raptors are going to be successful. I think that the keys to this series, if I had to pick 3 keys to the series for the Raptors, it is going to be winning the possession battle, which the Raptors have done consistently this season, but you're going to have to continue to do it. The Raptors aren't winning the possession battle, they're not going to win this series. It's flat out, it's going to be that easy. Second thing is going to be dominating the minutes where Joel Embiid is not on the floor and taking advantage of those limited opportunities. And the third thing that is going to be vital in this series, I think it's just got to be Siakam has to eat. Siakam has to be our best player. He has to show that he is our best player in this series. He's done extremely well against the 76ers this season. He's done extremely well against everybody this season. This has been Pascal Siakam's best season to date. But as good as Joel Embiid is probably going to be in this series, Siakam needs to find a way to get at least near that level with his performances. His volume and shooting is going to elevate. He's going to get even more minutes probably in this series, in the playoffs in general. He has to find a way to continue to be effective as a scorer and continue to be effective as a playmaker, as naturally the Sixers are going to put a ton of their defensive focus onto Siakam. So those are going to be the big things. Typically, the team with the best player on the court wins the series. Arguably, probably, the Sixers have the best 2 players. So Siakam has to find a way to get to that next level. And even though the top-heavy talent is on the Sixers, I feel like the Raptors have a much more filled-out roster. With the players coming off the bench, I feel more comfortable with them. And the players that round out the starting five, along with Siakam, I think it's better than what the Sixers have to offer, quite frankly. So even though the Sixers are favored in this series, and I've said that I'm probably going to lean towards the Sixers winning this series, the more I've talked about it as we get to game one, the day of game one, the more I've talked about it, the more I understand the matchups, what the Raptors can throw at the 76ers, it has really, really begun to sway me. The Raptors absolutely have the tools to make this series an absolute hell for the Sixers. They have the work ethic to continuously execute over the course of 7 games. It's not about being the most skillful team. It never has been for this Raptors team this season. It's about working that extra little bit harder than your opposition to get those extra possessions. And you can rely on Siakam to hit those big shots. As a result of everything I've broken down for this series, with Matisse Thybulle missing games 3, 4, and probably game 6, because I think this series is going to get there. If it's get there, he's not playing in that game. Based on everything there, I think the Raptors win this series in 7 games. Going to be one of the closest first-round series, I suspect. And when it gets to those big moments, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, I'm backing the Toronto Raptors to get it done and move on to the second round of the playoffs. So how do you guys feel about this series? Do you think the Raptors will take it? Do you think the Sixers will take it? And how many games will it last? I want to hear your thoughts and opinions, and start the discussion in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please drop a like if you did enjoy. Goes a long way to supporting the channel, and make sure you are subscribed to Amateur Hour Sports for the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news. We're going to do a ton of content for the playoffs, so you got to be on the channel getting all of these great Raptors videos. Sign up to Betstamp with the link in the description and use code RAPS to find the best sporting odds. You will not regret doing it. Join our Discord to continue the conversation, and I'll see you tomorrow for a recap of Game 1.